All right, so we're going to start our first project. Let's go to the start the window. We're going to go and all the way down to the V for Visual Studio here, right here, and I have Visual Studio 2017. You can be used in 2015 or 2012, doesn't really matter. All right, here when you open your software for the first time, you have a little window. They give you a little information about if you want to create projects, open projects, projects that you just have done, and so forth. We're not going to use this start page. We're going to do it another way. So, and always remember that in many videos and many tutorials that all of them do in a different way, and that's okay. There's many different ways to do this. I'm going to show you one way. So I'm going to go here to the file, new project. So I wanted to create a new project and I want to make sure that I have selected Visual Studio instead another language like Visual C Sharp, Visual Basic. So I have my Visual Studio selected, C++, and I'm going to select an empty project. I want to select an empty project because I wanted to show you the structure of a basic project. So here I'm going to call this Hello World. Hello World. And here in the location, instead to install this in the default location, I'm going to just go and create a folder in my desktop. And I'm going to call this C++ examples. So I'm kind of selecting this. So if you look here in the path, I put it in my desktop in my new folder C++ examples. So I can actually go there and find my programs. So I'm going to click OK. Make sure three things. You have selected empty project, Visual C++, and if you see some tutorials online. Sometimes they select console application, that's fine. We just want to start from scratch. All right, so here click OK. And now Visual Studio will create an empty structure here. So we don't have anything. We have the folder, we have the project, but is nothing in the project. So you're going to see a blue screen. So we actually had to add the file that is going to hold the code. So here, C++ Visual Studio does a very good job already putting default folders to hold your programs. So the source folder is the one that's going to hold the programs that have the function that process the program, right? Then you have resource files, header files. We're going to talk, that's more advanced, but for this introduction, we're just going to be using the source file. So I'm going to right click in my source file. I'm going to say add, and we're going to add a new item. So the new item that we're going to add is the .cpp file. The .cpp file is the file that holds the code. This also holds the code, but in more advanced. For the purpose of this, we're just going to use the .cpp file that contains the main or default function. All right, I'm going to leave the same name, source, because I'm only going to have one file, so I don't have to rename it. If I did have many files that contain functions, I would like to name them with the proper name that file holds. If I have the function that says um, drive a car, I wanted to change the name to drive a car, right? So in this case, we're only going to have one teeny file, and there you go. And then I said, well, great, but we don't have anything on it, right? Excuse me. So that's what we're going to start. So the first thing that we're going to start, we had to create the structure of the file. So the first thing that you want to do, and I'm going to go over, I'm going to include a library, right? So you always have to include a library. There is many different types of libraries. So I'm just going first for the structure of uh, the program. So the library. This is the basics, right? The second thing that you want to include is the main. And what is the main? So you always include a library that is sometimes you say, oh, that files I saw doesn't have a library. Doesn't have, sometimes files don't have a library because they're allocated in a different file and linked to this file. So that's not the case. We're not looking at that right now. So you're always going to include So you always include a library. What kind of library? We'll see that is many different types. You're gonna include the library that you're gonna use here in the block of the code so it can work. The second thing that you're gonna include here, the second is the main function. So every program has one default function or main function. So this is the default function. So the default function here, this is a simple one, has an open and closed bracket, right? The open and closed brackets holds that content of the code um, is like a box. Think about that code has to be held in a box. So the main function holds your program. We're going to go and define how it works in a later video, but let's go to the structure first. So in the basic program, you have your library, you have your main functions that executes the program. They had to be in order. And also I have this green line, right, that has two lines here. There are comments. So this is a comment for me to remember, but when you run the program doesn't view this code. So when you have two lines, you can actually put a comment to remind yourself, oh, okay, I know that I had to include a library. That's my main program, my main function, and that's where the code is supposed to go for the purpose of beginning code. Okay, so here we want to just output some information. So we're going to use the standard library, and when you type, you can see that Visual Studio gives hints of things to come. See out, and we're going to put welcome to my first project. 1 second, I did a mistake there. To my first project, and then semicolon. Perfect. All right. So here, everything that goes on the double quotes is a string, right? We want to output this message, welcome to my first code. And because this is a function and it's not void, we need to put return 0. So it returns the information here. So once you run this, so this is the main structure. You have your libraries, your main code. You have here, we use cout is a library. I'm going to talk to you in a minute. We use this code and allows to output to the console, output the program, this phrase, welcome to my first project, and you need to return 0 to output the information. I'm going to go all about this, about the information in detail. So if I go here to debug, start without debugging or start debug or without debugging, F5, you can press F5. I'm just going to click start debugging. And then a little console application, a little black screen comes because this is a console application, only a black screen is going to come, right? So you said, welcome to my first project. So that's it. This is it. So you're going to have the output here. And if you close it, make sure that you stop debugging and then you back to your code. So in the next video, I'm going to go over every single detail about the structure of the code and how we can better the code. All right. So see you next video.